They caused your suffering. Now it is their turn. They caused your suffering, and now it is their turn to feel the weight of everything they thought they could escape. They knew what they were doing when they hurt you. They knew their silence made you anxious. They knew their lies made you question yourself. They knew their cold behavior left you confused, tired, and emotionally drained. But they kept doing it anyway. They kept doing it. That is what made the pain so deep. It was not just in one mistake, it was a pattern. It was the repeated disrespect, the blame shifting, and the emotional distance, and the way they acted like your pain was nothing serious. They wanted you, they watched you changed. They saw you become quieter. They saw you stop smiling the way you used to. They saw you overthinking every message, every mood, and every conversation, and every sudden change in their behavior. They saw the suffering. They saw the suffering, but they still chose pride over care. They made you feel like you were the problem. When you cried, they called you dramatic. When you asked questions, they called you insecure. When you needed reassurance, they acted like you were disturbing their peace. When you reacted to their disrespect, they used your reactions to hide what they had done. That kind of treatment can damage a person slowly. You started disturbing your own memory. You started wondering if maybe you are asking for too much. You started apologizing just to calm the tension. You started crying. You started carrying blame you started carrying blame for wounds you did not create. And for a long time, you carried it quietly. You kept trying to understand them. You kept giving them choices. You kept giving them chances. You kept helping. You kept hoping they would show much. They would see how much they were hurting you and finally change. You kept believing that if you loved them properly, they would stop treating you carelessly. But they did not stop. They became comfortable with the patience. They became careless with your forgiveness. They became used to your pain. They acted like your heart would always be available no matter how many times they broke it. And that was their mistake. That was their biggest mistake, because suffering can break you for a season, but it can always wake you up. Pain can make you cry, but it can always teach you. Betrayal can leave you confused, but it can always open your eyes to who someone really is. And slowly, your eyes opened. You stopped defending their behavior. You stopped calling disrespect a misunderstanding. You stopped blaming yourself for their lack of accountability. You stopped giving your whole heart to someone who only knew how to take it, who only knew how to take from it. And that was when your healing began. It did not happen loudly. It did not happen at all at once. It happened in small moments when you choose not to reply. It happens when you stopped begging for explanation. It happens when you finally accepted that someone can know they are hurting you and still refuse to care. That acceptance changed you. You became quieter but not weaker. You became distant but not bitter. You became careful but not heartless. You became someone who understood that peace is too expensive to keep spending it on people who keep creating pain. And now it is their turn. Now they are feeling the absence they created. Now they are facing the silence they once used against you. Now they are realizing that the person who caused so much suffering to now they are realizing that the person they caused so much suffering to was always the person was always the person was also the person who cared for them in ways nobody else did. They made they are and they may not admit it openly. They may still act proud. They may still pretend. They may still pretend they are fine. They may still tell people they moved on. They may still try to make it look like your absence does not matter. But deep down, something is disturbing them. They remember they remember the way you tried. They remember the way you cared. They remember how patient you were even when they made patience difficult. They remember how they kept hurting someone who only wanted honesty, respect, and peace. That is the consequence, not revenge, not bitterness, not you becoming like them. It is simply the weight of their own actions finally returning to them. They thought they could cause you pain and remain untouched. They thought they could break trust and still feel powerful. They thought they could make you suffer and still keep access to your love, but now they are learning that every action has a cause. Their guilt is catching up. Their pride is becoming heavy. Their excuses are no longer comforting them. Their memories are reminding them of what they destroyed. And now, of what they destroyed, and your healing is making it worse. And your healing is making it worse for them, because you are no longer crying where they left you. You are no longer crying where they left you. You are no longer begging them to understand, to understand. You are no longer available for the same cycle. You are no longer carrying the suffering they cause as if it belongs to your future. You are becoming free, you are becoming clearer, you are becoming stronger. You are becoming the version of you they never expected to survive. They never expected to survive without their approval. That is why it is their own turn now. They must sit with the truth that they hurt someone genuine. They must face the reality that your absence is not a game. They must live with the regret of knowing they caused, or they must face the reality that your absence is not a game. They must live with the regret of knowing they caused suffering to someone who gave them love, patience, and loyalty. They must understand that losing you was not something they can easily replace. You do not need to chase justice. You do not need to force them to feel sorry. You do not need to explain your pain anymore. The consequences are already speaking. They cause your suffering, but now it is their turn, because the person they wounded is healing, and the pain they created has finally returned to teach them what they refused to understand. Thank you for watching.